go.
Yes, people, welcome back to the Catabolic Window. This is actually episode 78. We have been off the number for a very long time because we get them corrupted and then I don't remember that they've been corrupted, so I say a later number. So don't worry, you haven't missed any of these wonderful, glorious podcasts. Speaking of which, we've actually got a regular listener of the Catabolic Window podcast on today. And we are going to be taking his podcast virginity. So, Jan, introduce yourself, mate.
So, as Luke said, I'm Jan. My name is actually spelt C-A-N. I don't know if you boys know that. Have I explained this to you before?
No.
Yeah, so it's a Turkish name. My dad's Turkish, mum's English, so I'm half Turkish. And it's spelt Can, but pronounced Jan. I mean, a Turk would pronounce it like John. But trying to explain that to English people is a bit of a ball ache. So I just use Jan now, just to save myself having to explain it all the time. But as we're on a podcast, we've got all the time in the world. Might as well explain it.
What wouldn't it be closer to put it as like J-A-H-N? Like, how did you say it?
A-H-N.
Yeah, because it wasn't Jan. It was like, how did you say Turkish people would say it?
John. But
that's John.
Imagine trying to explain that to an English person. Just Jan, it's like, although it is a woman's name, I'll admit, it's kind of like borderline man's name, I guess, isn't it?
I think it's fine as Jan. Like, my mum's name is Janet, which is a woman's name, but
nice.
if you have it as Jan, then it's, I feel like that goes, well, Jack is also, you can have girls called Jack as well.
Really?
What?
Yeah. Do you guys know?
No way.
Jack is a gender neutral name. Did you genuinely?
No, it's not.
No,
Jacqueline.
Oh, I mean Jacqueline, yeah, but no one
wouldn't shorten that to Jack.
Yeah, you can shorten it to Jack. Jack is a girl's name. There you go.
Anyway, as I was saying, Turkish. I guess I'll go into a bit of my background. So I've been an online coach and PT for about 3.5 years now. So I got into online coaching during the lockdown. And to be honest, the lockdown was where I really turned my life around, I would say. Going into that phase of my life where I wasn't able to go out anymore. I was like a big social animal, drinker, like doing social drugs and stuff like that after coming out of school. And, the lockdown really allowed me to actually put my time to productive use. And because shortly before then I started taking my training a lot more seriously, posted on Instagram and stuff. When we went into the lockdown, I had a lot of people come to me asking for like training advice, meal plans, like training plans, that sort of thing. And I started coaching people for free during that period, and then kind of slowly built it up where I was like charging people small rates, making a lot of fucking mistakes. Like, I don't know about you boys, but I probably rushed into online coaching way too quick, but like I saw that there was a demand for it. So I wanted to try and put something out. And I was making like training and diet plans on fucking Word documents, just putting stuff together. But ultimately that's how you learn, through making mistakes, isn't it? So I'm happy it went that way. And yeah, it's kind of progressed to the point now where I was working it alongside a full-time job. I was a salesman for a system scaffolding company, which is as boring as it sounds. And I was doing that for 4 years. And then, I just built it up to the point where I could hand in my notice. And I think it was November 2022 where I turned around and said, I quit. I'm done. See you later. And handed in my notice. And they literally turned around on the same day and said, we're going to give you garden leave. We want you out right now. So they paid me for the rest of the month. And I was gone the same day. So I went from being employed to self-employed, you could say, on the same day. And I was driving home and I was like, holy shit, this has just got real. That realization. Obviously, you boys have been in the same position, I'm sure. But I just realized at that point that it's all on me now. And I managed to then get my PT qualification and then started doing one-to-one PTs out of a gym in St. Neots called Muscle and Mind. So I was doing that all the way through 2023 up until July. Had a bit of a falling out with the owner of the gym there. He's a bit of a psychopath. Hopefully he doesn't watch this.
No, we've got millions of listeners.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
boys.
definitely listening, mate. You fucked it now.
Fuck him, so yeah, went to a different gym and I've been there ever since. And then I started PTing at the coach as well. So PTing at Gains Knits, the coach, as well as doing online coaching. And yeah, obviously able to make a good living off it and loving life, boys. I'm loving life.
What was it that made you decide, like, when you went to hand your notice in, like, today's the day that I want to do it type of thing, or just made you feel, I guess, ready to do it?
I mean, I've been thinking about it for a while and I'd just fallen out of love with the job. I was kind of waking up every morning and dreading going into work. And that was about 3 or 4 months before I decided to hand in my notice. And yeah, it just built up to the point where I was like, this is enough now. Spoke to my parents about it and I was like, I'm confident within myself that I can make the jump. And once I've got all this time to commit to building the business, I'll make it work. And I know that with my back up against the wall, when I've got no other choice, I'll find a way. And here we are today. So it paid off.
Do you think that that kind of path is something that you would maybe do again, or is it something that you kind of whenever like people talk about success, right? It's always kind of like if you take the leap, those people who are more likely to take the leap are always the ones more likely to succeed. Do you think it's a case of like there's a little bit of luck involved in that, or do you think it was like you were always going to, succeed, like you said, no matter what?
I think once you've got that mindset, you can't really go far wrong. You've just got to back yourself. As long as you've got 100% confidence in yourself, I don't think you can go far wrong. Yeah, there's probably some luck involved, don't get me wrong. But also, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today without just grafting and working hard for it. So yeah, like I wouldn't have done it any other way, really. So yeah.
Mate, absolutely. Do you think that you would have, like, if you could go back, would you have started it earlier, or do you think you needed that time to sort of, go down a different path, realize that this is something that you wanted to do, or yeah, if you went back, would there be anything that you would change, knowing the things that you know now?
I think I did it at the right time, to be honest. When I actually left that job, I was only working with about 12 online clients, so it wasn't a lot. It wasn't enough to make a living, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I had a mortgage to pay for as well. So I just knew that, although it's a massive fucking risk, if I can just graft and put my all into it, then I'll make it work. And it's paid off. So you just got to be willing to take those big risks, and like when we're in the position we're in, we're young, we've got minimal responsibilities. I think you can afford to take those risks.
Yeah.
And also in the back of my head, I knew that although I would never want to rely on my parents, they're always there to support me. So, there is that kind of security of having them there a little bit.
I definitely think there's like a survivorship bias in business stuff. Like you don't tend to hear about the people that like really fucking failed type of thing. If you like, it's weird because I think fitness is one of the only things where you do hear about the people that it didn't go well for, because they're like, oh, I tried that diet, it was fucking shit. Don't do that, mate. It was awful. Didn't work. But most other things, like if people try to, start a business or do a new career, they sort of, I guess, like retreat back and like don't really fucking tell anyone about it.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean. I don't know if it's
take that leap, but then like Jan said, they just don't back it enough. And like it's something that I see. I mean, I'm sure both of you guys have seen this all the time. You see someone who's like, I'm going to do the online coaching, I'm going to do PT, update the bio, put out a post. What's next? Like they you just don't hear from them, and then they're like, oh yeah, I tried the whole coaching thing, it was really difficult. And it's like, well,
exactly,
like how much did you put
you're going to get all these inquiries, and that's just not how it works. And especially nowadays, there's so much fucking competition out there. Once the competition is majority shit coaches, but still, so many people want to take that leap and go down the online coaching route, but they don't realize that you have to put in the work to attract people, and it's not just good enough putting online coaching in your bio.
We mentioned about like luck earlier, and I don't know if it's so much luck as it is like timing. Like if you do it for long enough, you're going to get quote unquote lucky with it.
Yeah,
because you put in this hard work for like years and months along the way. Like there's the quote that's always attributed to what is it, Henry Ford, something about fucking getting faster horses or cars. And I can't remember quite where I was going to go with this, but it was in my head a second ago.
You absolutely butchered that, but continue.
Yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. I've completely lost it. Jack,
That's
I
calm.
look like a retard.
Mate, that is calm. No, I do agree that, like, you know, I think it's kind of like
Oh no,
go on.
that's it. I've got it. Right.
He's got it.
Jesus.
That's what I meant with the timing thing. Because he's saying, like, you know, if you ask people what they wanted in whatever the fuck time it was before the car was around, they're like faster horses.
Yeah.
Give them this other thing, and you have to get it at the right time. Like, you have to, if you're a PT, you have to be there on the gym floor talking to people in order for them to eventually come to you. You have to be coaching long enough, putting out content that people like, that people get on with, for them to then come to you. It's not enough saying, yeah, I help fucking busy professionals, and then you've got 60 clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's something I've been doing a lot more recently, actually, is when I go into the gym to get my steps done, I'll just walk around the gym and just chat to people, not like in a salesy way and just go, oh, you want coaching straight away. Just general chit chat, build relationships with people, because once people get to know you, they buy into you as a person, you know.
Yeah.
But you can't do that unless you actually talk to them face to face, or just communicate with them online through like voice notes, video message, or whatever it is.
Yeah, man. I always, like, you know, I've bounced around gyms quite a lot over the past like 5 or so years, and usually, like, after being at a gym for a year, 18 months, you start to kind of, when you've built some rapport with people start to kind of like ask a little bit about advice. Maybe you get some clients, and like, I think if you've been at a gym for like over a year and you're not getting anyone who you kind of like roughly know, or at least anyone following you on Instagram, it's pretty clear. It's like, okay, you should probably talk to these people. And like, it's like you said, that old thing of people just expect, like, oh, I said I'm a coach, why aren't you like coming to my door? And like, I think a lot of people forget that you're running a business. Like, imagine if you took half of the online coaching population and you put them on Dragon's Den, and you'd be like, sell your business, because it is a business and that's what you're doing. So sell it. And they'd be like,
Yeah, like Dragon's Den for online coaches, or The Apprentice for online coaches.
yeah, exactly. No, mate, but like that's the thing, is like, half of them, it's like tell me what you do, and they'll all say the same thing. Oh, I can get you in shape. Okay, like, cool, but like, how? Why should I care? Like, show me your Instagram. Okay, you posted up one push workout and the fact that you are now coaching. Cool. Like,
Yeah.
I think people just, you know, they don't back it, and that's probably, I think, the big difference between I'm going to big you up now, Jan. The difference between, you know, you and someone who isn't successful, it's having the comfort to take that leap, and then knowing that, like if you'd have seen a decline, you would have been like, right, I'll just do more work, I'll just put more into it. And I think that kind of little bit of like almost stubbornness and like drive is what builds a great business. And like Luke said, that's what kind of, if you keep at it long enough, that's what gives you that luck, maybe, or that good timing. Because if you're doing it for a long time, you're bound to hit a lucky day or a good time day.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my previous mentors said, like, it's the work that you put in now that pays off like 3 months down the line. So if you slack off now, you're not going to get those consistent inquiries further down the line.
Yeah, man, exactly. Like, how often you know, it's never like, people don't inquire because they're like, oh, I saw what you posted this morning, sick. They'll be like, you know, they'll be like, oh, you've been reliably helpful and showing great client progress for the past year. Every time I go on Instagram, it's you and your clients doing well. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to come from, you know, posting like, here's why creatine's maybe worth the money this morning, you know.
Yeah, so to demonstrate this to people, there's a guy that signed up with me maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I started talking to him in 2020.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he signed up like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, sometimes it takes that long.
Yeah, absolutely.
James Sutton, when we went to the PT project, which is something we should talk about because all three of us went, James Sutton was talking about, I think it was Kane. It was like Kane followed him for like 8 or 11 years or something before he became a client. Like, the lead time was crazy.
Yeah, the PT project was class. I think I signed up to the PT project because of you, Luke. I've been following you for a while, and I was seeing you.
Paul owes me so much commission.
This
Yeah,
man,
you got me in it as well.
I'm going to big you up here, Luke. I was like, this man knows his shit about biomechanics. I was like, I want to know more about this. So I think I asked you, didn't I, Luke? And I was like, yeah, what's this course you're doing and everything? And I signed up, and it kind of like opened a whole new door, you know. And it's taught me so fucking much. Like the value you get from doing a biomechanics course on the gym floor and then with online coaching as well. That was so valuable, so valuable.
It's so often overlooked though. Like, you know, people. I don't know. I think that there's. Do you find this like coaches get to a point where they're like open to more knowledge, and then get to a point, and then it just shuts off?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, like you have to have that mindset. And again, this goes to show like why business is doing well for you is if you're constantly looking for I know there's something else that I don't know. How can I find it and learn it? That always propels your business forward. And I think that's how you stand out as a coach as well.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely agree.
But recently, another thing that you and Luke have got in common is obviously prep. We've got to talk about the prep. How are things going, mate? How many weeks deep? How far out are we? What's the timeline?
So 18 weeks into it now, 3 weeks out. So it's getting to the juicy stage. Kieran's metaphorically dropped the hammer on Sunday. I checked in with a person at the coach, and he was happy. And he said, you know, we'll just not make any changes, and we'll check in on Tuesday. So I haven't had my check-in back from him yet. But I said to him, like, mate, I'm feeling fresh. Like, I want to dig. Let's go for it. And he said, okay, I hear you. Check in with me tomorrow, and we'll make a decision then. So I checked in with him the day after, and he made some pretty savage changes. I was like, yes, that's what I wanted to fucking see. Because ultimately, I know, although there's going to be a bit more of a struggle, that's where the true detail is going to come through. And I want to be one of the most peeled first timers on that stage because I know I'm not going to be the biggest. I've got an okay shape, but it's not the best. So I need to come in as sharp as fucking possible. And obviously, you've got to do the work to be able to achieve that. So he upped my steps from 12 to 14K. He dropped my calories by about 300 across both days. So now on a training day, they're 1,600, non-training day, 1,500. He upped my clen to 100 micrograms and you him mine up to 20 milligrams. We can talk about my drug stack and everything as well if you want to go into that. So yeah, things are getting a bit spicy. Hit a new low this morning, seeing new lines as well. My back is finally fucking starting to come in. Praise the Lord. Jesus Christ. For me, my back is my stubborn body part. Like my legs, I've got lines in my glutes that are like 12 weeks out from the side. But my back, however, it's just fat as fuck, you know. But I took my check-in shots this morning. I was like, holy shit, like I've actually, my waist is slowly going, you know. And it's just accentuating that V-taper, which is nice to see. So I think what we're going to probably do is dig throughout the rest of this week. And then we'll be obviously 2 weeks out, and then we can start. I'm not sure whether Kieran, he did say a high day is on the horizon soon. So I'm not sure whether he's just going to ride out the next 2 weeks on this amount and then start peak week, or he's planning to do maybe like a practice peak or whatever. But I did speak to him about it and what his peaking protocol is. And it seems to be the case that he's going to do a fat load into a carb load. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be like a 3-day fat load into a 3-day carb load. And then obviously dry out, step on stage. The first show I'm doing is the PCA first timers at the Birmingham Town Hall on the 22nd. And then I've got one the weekend after in Warrington, the NFM show. And then the weekend after that is the PCA London, which is St Albans, not even in London. So I don't know why they call it PCA London, to be honest. And then potentially the PCA finals, which is 2 weeks after that.
Nice, man. A full-blown timeline.
It's been such an enjoyable fucking process. I've loved every moment of it. Like, big hats off to Kieran. I know, Luke, you're obviously coached by him now, but you can have 100% confidence in your prep next year with him because he's managed this one so well. Like, I feel cognitively fresh. I feel energetic. I'm not on my ass. I thought I'd be in the absolute bin at this point in prep, but I feel good still, you know. Like, hunger's not really that high at all. Food focus isn't that high. so yeah, like my training has been progressing pretty consistently up until about the 5 to 6 week out mark, and then it was just a case of maintaining numbers, and then we dropped down to 1 RIR anyway, which was a bit of a weird adjustment to make. So yeah, it's been really plain sailing. Like I've only done 30 minutes of cardio twice a week during this prep, and that got escalated from it started on 25 minutes twice a week, and now it's gone up to 30. So, you know, expenditure's been minimal. And I think that's a big reason why I'm not feeling on my ass, because I'm not doing hours of fucking cardio, and I just don't think it's needed for most people. Obviously, some people need to do the cardio to get the fat off, but for me, it seems to be the case that I just don't need it, which I'm grateful for.
Do you
But
think
it ties into the start. Sorry, I'm waffling now, but
nah, don't worry, bro.
I think it ties into my start position, because I was fat, don't get me wrong, but like I wasn't, Jesus Christ, peak off season fat, you know. And because we gave ourselves plenty of time, we've just lost at a nice steady rate. So you're not getting all those diet symptoms that come with an aggressive rate of loss. And it's just allowed me to grow throughout prep as well. Like I've only lost in total 12 kilos, but it looks like I've pulled off about 20 kilos.
Yeah, I was gonna say 12 is not a lot visually. It looks a lot more than 12.
Yeah.
You kind of answered the question already, but do you think there's anything in particular that you, Kieran, the combination of both of you have done that has made this prep so successful so far? Like you're 3 weeks out and feeling fresh. That's pretty unheard of in most preps, you know?
Yeah. Communication between Kieran and I has been spot on. Like I just feed back to him as accurately as I can. I manage all the variables outside of the gym very well. Like my sleep has been pretty good. It did kind of drop off at like the 8 week out mark,
Sure.
but I'm still getting like 6.5 to 7
Man's
hours.
waking up at like 4 a.m.
Bro, it's 3:30 on the dot every morning.
Ooh.
Like, I'm wide awake, but I'm fucking excited to start the day, you know?
Energy levels okay day to day then? Do they like start to drop off towards the back end or?
Not really. I mean, don't get me wrong, you have moments of high and low energy, but all in all, it's very manageable. And I'm going to bed at 8 as well, bear in mind. So
Okay.
8-ish.
Yeah, so that is still like 7.5 hours. It's reasonable.
Yeah, but I do wake up for a piss like at least once, sometimes twice. Oh my,
Mate.
that's an issue. Fuck me, my bladder, it doesn't fucking work, I'm sure. My ability to hold in a piss has just gone. It's gone.
Mate, I was the same dieting. Every single time I diet, it's the exact same. It's like pissing 3-4 times a night. Ridiculous.
It's so frustrating. And when I need a piss, it feels so uncomfortable to hold it in.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably gonna have to go for a piss at some point in this podcast because I've been drinking a Monster as well. But yeah, when we do the water and carb load, that's gonna be a nightmare. Because driving to Birmingham, I've already told my girlfriend Kat, we're probably gonna have to stop a good 10-15 times on the way. So just be prepared for that. Unless I wear like a adult nappy or have like a tube connected to my dick and just piss into that all the way there.
Like a fucking like those baseball game hats with like the cans on top.
Oh no.
Reversed.
That's grim. That is absolutely good. She's into like bodybuilding as well, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's a fucking unit, to be fair. She's natural. So yeah, I think she's planning to compete next year. She's not 100% certain yet, but she wants to compete next year, I think. She's just going through a diet phase at the moment. She's working with Christian. I know you both work with Christian at some point. Yeah, she's planning to prep next year, I think.
Decent, mate. Well, Luke has actually he was doing a dieting phase, but now it's been upped to a prep.
Well, so actually, yeah.
I was considering doing that, but I'm trying to save money at the moment, I'll be honest. However, I think it would be good having that little thing in mind after the last show, just so I can be like, right, it's like an incentive not to fuck it post prep.
Yeah. I know Jack Eagles did that on his last prep, and he said it was really fucking productive. I think it was like 8 weeks after. So you kind of you're not as lean. You come up a little bit. You gain back some body fat. Try and feel a little bit better, but still stay somewhat in shape because you've got that photo shoot. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. To be fair.
Yeah.
Are you worried about the post show period at all? Obviously, I know that things have been pretty smooth sailing so far, but it can be very difficult when that deadline has passed and you're now just potentially more hungry with more food, and there's kind of no real purpose for that hunger.
Absolutely. I mean, this is something I wanted to talk about actually, because I did a photo shoot prep last year and I coached myself for it. And I was pretty aggressive with the fat loss. I didn't refeed throughout the entire thing. So afterwards, I was pretty much on my arse, and I had extremely high food focus throughout, and I saved up like a load of food. I was planning ahead what I was going to do, made all the fucking mistakes in the book. And like 3 weeks after it, I had a holiday booked as well. So I binged eat after it. Oh, when I was driving back from the photo shoot, it was Easter shortly before. So I had loads of Easter eggs saved up, took them to the gym with me. As soon as the photo shoot finished, like waffed back an Easter egg. Was driving home, I was like, I'm going to get a Domino's tonight. But I drove past this kebab place, stopped off and got a huge kebab there that cost me about 15 quid, as well as some baklava. And boys, if you haven't tried baklava, Turkish delicacy.
Yeah.
Got back, and I was in an absolute food coma and still smashed the Domino's as well as some other snacks I had in the cupboard. And I don't know if you boys have done that before, but fuck me, you just feel broken. Like, I was in a full-on food coma. I've never felt like that in my life before. But now, because I've gone through that and I learned from that mistake, I'm way more confident this time around that I'm going to be able to manage the post-prep period a lot better. And to be honest, up until about like 3/4 of the way through prep, I was still very worried because I know what I've been like in the past with food. But in the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've just had that mindset switch. And instead of telling myself that I hope I'm going to manage the post-show period well, I've just switched it and said, no, I know within myself that I'm going to be able to manage it well. And I just think you've got to talk to yourself in that positive manner and just, again, like back yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very confident I'll be able to manage it well. Don't get me wrong, if Kieran allows it, I'll have like an off-plan meal after whatever show he allows it for. But from the period of time that he says get back on plan, I'm confident I'll be able to get back on plan and not give in to those temptations. Because ultimately, you know, I've got long-term goals to step on stage again after how this prep has gone. I've absolutely loved the process. And if that means that I can extend my off season and grow more and be more competitive next time I step on stage, I think that is the next goal I need to keep in mind.
Yeah, mate. I think that mindset shift is fucking golden. Like, I know I've heard Christian say it before to people when they're like, "Oh, I hope I don't fuck it. I hope I don't fuck it." And he just says like, "If you really don't want to, then you won't. And if you fuck it, it's because you didn't care enough. So stop saying I hope and just own your actions." And like, mate, it is so true. I think, like you said, like, you know that you've got this because you're saying to yourself, "Oh, I really want this. I really want this." But ultimately, you're the one in control. So, like, make it happen, mate, because you absolutely can. And it's the position that you're in sounds so much better than that photo shoot diet that you were talking about. And I think having that clear goal, and immediately as soon as that prep's done, keep the routine that you've got. Try and keep that same mindset of like, I'm still on prep. There's still another show to go, and we're doing this for next year. And I think, mate, it sounds a lot more positive for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the key. What you said there is routine. Like, don't change anything. I'll still be waking up at the same time, doing my fasted steps, doing my PTs, check-ins, eating at the same times. Yes, I'm going to be hungry, and yes, food growth is going to be high. But if you just stay in the routine and just distract yourself, over time, those food signalings are going to go down, So you just got to kind of suffer a little bit, or just blast a load of semaglutide and hope for the best. I know that Joe Brightman did that, didn't he? Like towards the back end of his prep.
Really?
He was because he was struggling a lot with just general hunger. So he was taking, I think on his YouTube, he went away to Turkey and he was taking that to manage hunger. And he said it works really fucking well. And apparently a lot of bodybuilders do it post-show so they don't go off and binge. But also it could have the adverse effect, isn't it? Because you want to gain a healthy amount of body fat. Yeah. Your appetite's in the bin. You're just going to end up staying fucking lean and just, digging yourself into an even deeper hole.
The thing about that is I've always found that like when I initially diet, it's fine. Then it gets to the hunger phase. Then it goes beyond hunger to like, I'm just on my ass, like just energy levels. For me, like when I get really, really lean, I can just back being hungry, like it's fine. Like, it just is what it is. It's just I will look at food and be like, if I eat that, I will get 10 minutes of energy. And that's where like the food focus and that energy comes from.
Mm.
Is like I remember towards the back end of like my pre-prep diet being like I want to eat because I just want to feel human and alive, because I'd eat something, feel good for 15 minutes and then right back in the hole. And like for me that's the hardest thing. So yeah, I don't know. But you get like a similar experience? Is it what do you think is the hardest part for you? Is it hunger, cravings, energy levels? I know obviously this prep's been pretty smooth, but in previous ones, did you notice it was kind of one thing over the other?
Yeah, like you said, this prep's been really smooth, so it's hard to pinpoint what's been the hardest thing because it's not been hard. Or obviously everybody's hard is relative, but I would say,
Luke, stop laughing, you child.
what's he laughing about?
Everyone's hard is relative.
Oh, fucking hell, I just realised what I said there.
I'm a child.
Based on previous dieting experiences, one of the hardest things I've found to deal with was falling out of love with training.
Yeah, that's a good one.
During the photo shoot prep, I was just ticking a box going to the gym, like I was just moving weight, and it really wasn't enjoyable. And obviously, like you boys, we do this because we love training. It all kind of stems from that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when you fall out of love with that thing that means so much to you, it just impacts other areas of your life so much, especially your mental health, I would say. So yeah, this time round, I'm still loving training and still like maintaining, progressing. So yeah, on that front, that's not really been that hard this time around. What else have I found hard?
What do you think's helped the most with that? With maintaining that love of training? Just slower rate of loss, progression being a little bit easier to manage, maybe?
I think so, mate. Yeah, I think so. Because we've not been super aggressive, I've managed to maintain a lot of my lifts across the board, being like super accurate with execution, and making sure that I'm not like altering my form throughout prep just to move load, So yeah, I think that's a big reason why. Something else I was going to say that I've kind of struggled with, which is completely different, is getting the old boy to work. Struggle with that a couple of weeks back.
Hey, I had the same thing. Like literally from like maybe 6 weeks out, and then for like another 4 weeks after finishing prep as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm considering Viagra, to be honest.
I mean, mate, might as well,
Yeah, it wouldn't. It's just, I won't share too many details, but yeah, I was just going for it. Nothing, weren't working.
Is that mental drive still there, or is it kind of is that a little bit faded as well?
I mean, don't get me wrong, my sex drive is a lot lower than it is normally, but like I wanted to do it, but it did not want to cooperate. So
yeah, mate, get the little blues in.
Yeah, I might have to I did suggest that in my last check-in. I was like, might have to give that a shot. Have you boys got any experience with the Viagra?
No.
Apparently, after you come, you can just keep going. I was like, this sounds incredible.
Fair play. That might be worth a little try then. That's quite funny.
Yeah. I only hit QB last year, mate. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of as much as we'll talk about like, and I had a check-in with a client this morning to kind of a similar effect. Like, as much as we talk about when we're dieting, managing things, trying to make it as productive and as easy as possible and as smooth as possible, there are certain elements that are just going to take a hit. Like when you're really lean, there are certain things that just aren't going to be the same as when you're not really lean, and that's okay. Like, feeling a little bit more hungry, having higher cravings, struggling with performance, we'll say, having difficulty with like sleeping or sleep schedules being a little bit skewed. Again, as much as we can kind of sit here and manage that as best as possible, to an extent, especially for a prep, it's just part of the package, and it's going to
control. It's going to happen at some point, and it just depends on severity, person to person, doesn't it?
Yeah. And also like your proximity to the show. I mean, like there's the possibility, it's unlikely, but there's a possibility that like you feel great, you do a week of digging, feel maybe not so great,
I mean, it's got to come surely. because I did have a bit of a head like at 12 or 10 weeks out, and I said to Kieran, I was like, why aren't I struggling? Because everybody talks about how hard prep is. I'm like, you're fucking fine. I'm having a great time here. Like, should I not be on my arse a little bit? So I said to him, like, you know, let's dig, let's push harder. And he was like, mate, it's not a suffering contest.
Yeah.
It's not about who can suffer the most. It's about who gets in stage condition. And if you can do it without having to suffer, fucking brilliant.
Yeah, you look better for it. You look fresher on stage.
Yeah. So I'm so grateful to have Kieran in my corner. Honestly, he's been fantastic throughout this prep, and I've learned so fucking much. So you're in safe hands, Leaky boy.
Yeah, man, it feels weird, like, because I've had so much time off type of thing. I'm like, how the fuck is it? But at the same time, it's like, how has it gone this quickly?
How's it going with him? Are you working well together? You enjoying it?
Yeah, man, decent. I must be maybe £10 down since we started. Because what's this? Week 5, I think. Checking 5.
For you,
yes.
To shoot, maintain, and then start prep early next year, or
probably a small-ish push-up, like, I don't know, £20 type of thing.
Yeah.
Not getting as fat as I was before.
How big are you to get for the shoot?
Probably about 145. So like striking distance to stage, but not like, ideally I still want my dick to work.
Yeah, well, like 6-8 week out mark you're looking for.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah, sounds good, man. I mean, you've built a lot of size since you last stepped on stage. Those pictures you put up last week, I think it was, I was like, yes, Luke.
Yeah, it's crazy, your season.
Small.
How about yourself, Jack? What are you working towards at the moment?
Did a pre-prep diet. The goal is pretty much just very, very slow gaining / recomp phase until around March, where I'll start prep officially. Current body weight is like 198, 200, which is on paper the heaviest that we wanted to go. My condition's still very, very good. For me, dieting is brutal. My body needs a shove, a real shove. So the whole purpose of this phase is like, stay as lean as possible, stay in as good of a position for prep as possible. So likelihood is it's going to be no more food changes unless scale weight starts to decrease, and then letting my body kind of slowly recomp at 200 for a good period of time. The main thing that we're looking at is pitches and training performance. As soon as training performance starts to dip off a little bit, then it's like, okay, we're not really recomping anymore. You know, we might need to see some scale weight increases. But for the most part, things are going very, very productively. Still very hungry, still feeling a little bit lethargic and low energy, which is fine. But I think I'm someone who, my body doesn't really enjoy being lean, and it definitely doesn't enjoy getting any leaner. So it just means that we need to be careful of how we manage things. But things are still cracking on as well as I'd expect them to be. Yeah,
how's things with like because when we did the PT project course together, you had a lot of issues surrounding your knees and your hips, I believe, didn't you? Like, it's where you can train legs, well, some movements pain-free. Is that right?
Yeah, I have to be very, very cautious of how I train things. So I've got my hips are kind of skewed, which means that my patellas sit slightly more laterally than they should. So they rub up against the structure of my knee all the time, just from steps, like walking, moving around, standing up, it rubs, which inflames that tendon, which gives me constant tendon issues. So I just have to be very, very careful and very minimal loading, a lot of like auto regulation on the day. I've been playing around with blood flow restriction training, which has helped a lot.
It's horrible.
Yeah, that's
horrible. But honestly, it gives me range of motion. If I right now did a leg extension, I wouldn't be able to lock out my knee. I just don't have. It would hurt to lock it out. But after BFR, like after a few sets, I can get greater range of motion in my knee. So it's slowly coming along. It's going to be a case of like training. It's going to be quite tedious and quite annoying. But hopefully over time, I'll be able to continue to progress them. But it's going to be, training quads is going to be a little bit unique for me for quite some time. But that's fine. They're still growing.
Yes, BFR seems to be something that not many people use nowadays. Like, it's almost like I don't know how many people know about it, but you don't see that many people doing it. And that's one of the really good things about it, is like the injury thing. Like I've used it loads for my triceps because they fucking suck.
Yeah, I did the same. I had like elbow and knee tendonitis last year, so Kieran programmed some BFR stuff, and that really helped. Like high rep BFR, rest pause sets. Fuck me, the pump you get is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, Jack, have you run insulin before?
Yeah.
You know that first time you get an insulin pump and it's like splitting.
Yeah,
It's like that.
Mate, literally, yeah. I think a lot of people ignore just how useful BFR is. Like, I do like a 50 rep giant set of BFR like on my quads, and the the amount of how low I'm able to get load to like get failure is ridiculous. Like the difference in strength, BFR versus non BFR, is crazy. Like, as if I were to do even like a 50 rep giant set without the BFR, it would cause a lot of knee pain. Just the amount of load that I have to use. I can chuck on like 5 kilos and that's it, and then that's like a good set for me, and like that's failure, and it allows me
you never build any muscle with 5 kilos. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly, mate. I'm just kidding myself. But literally, like it allows me to kind of match that quad strength to my tendon capacity.
Yeah,
and it's so valuable for that. I think the hardest thing is going to be like pressing and squatting movements, because again, that's where like the loading potential is highest. Again, that's where torque can be at its highest. So have to be careful there. But the BFR leg extensions currently are going down so well. Like I can keep load minimal and the same for a very long period of time.
Yeah, that's good to hear, man. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Because when you mentioned earlier about your background, Jan, sort of before going into, I guess, bodybuilding and taking it a bit more seriously, I didn't realize how sort of similar ours was, if that makes sense. Of like, you're fucking going out loads, getting pissed, all of that sort of stuff. And then was there a specific time, like aside from COVID, where you were like, right, I need to really fucking sort this out now?
No, it was COVID, because whilst I was working that job, I was living for the weekends, so Monday to Friday, working hard, going out Friday, probably going out Saturday as well, just to feel like I was enjoying myself. Often going up to like different mates' unis, accommodations, festivals. And yeah, it was very fun, don't get me wrong, in the moment. But when the lockdown hit, that's when I realized that, I can actually be really productive with my time, like I said. And then, how you feel as well after stopping all of that, it's really eye-opening. And yeah, that was a big turning point in my life. I'm so grateful that the lockdown actually happened, which is very weird to think.
If you hadn't gone into like the fitness industry and coaching, do you know what you would have gone into, or can you kind of theorize?
Oh, fucking hell. Probably still be sitting behind a desk selling scaffolding, to be honest, mate. I have no idea, man. I have no idea what I would have gone into. When I left school, my initial plan was to go and study business studies at Leeds, because I got an
bullet there, mate.
You are, mate.
You dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, I mean, because I went to Kimbolton, which is a private school for sixth form, they, as a business, want to push people to go to uni because, on their books, if they can send like 90 or 99% of their students to uni, it looks good for them. Yeah. So they were like, right, it's either uni or you're a failure. I was like, well, I don't want to fucking go to uni. So I decided last minute not to go, and then just started working straight away. I was working with my dad for a little bit. My parents have a luxury leather goods business. They have a shop in London and a shop in Cambridge, and then an online store as well. So I was working with him for a little bit. We kind of like butted heads because, it's like father and son. Yeah, you just do end up butting heads. And he wanted me to take over the family business. And like that would have been a really good fucking income for me, because it's a successful business, but it wasn't where my passion laid, So then I left. I was working as a bartender for a while. And then when I left that job, I then went on to the scaffolding job. And then, obviously found bodybuilding, was introduced to JP. This was where like things real. I started in, boys. It was when the logbook came out that things changed. I bought his ebook and everything, and then it just opened a whole can of worms.
Do you know what my favorite thing about JP is?
What?
like showing him to somebody that doesn't know who he is. It's
Mate,
hilarious.
yeah,
Every time they're like, "What the fuck is that?"
I've actually got quite a funny story. I had this client, in my like first year of coaching, it was this younger girl that signed up, and she was wanting to like tone up, build a bit of muscle, like standard for most females. And I sent her over a training plan and everything. It was like the JP style, like low volume, high intensity. And she was like, she did it for the first couple of weeks, and then she started questioning it, but not in like a curious way, like, oh, just out of interest, why am I doing this? She's like, why am I doing this? Like, there's barely any sets, and like almost disregarding the training plan. I was like, we're focusing on quality, not quantity. She's used to doing like 4 or 5 sets on every movement, and I'm telling her to do like 2. So she just turned around and said, I'm not willing to do this. There's no studies to back it up. I was like, fucking studies. You've come to me for my advice, yet you're telling me what's right or wrong.
Damn, that's crazy. What was her background?
She's a uni student, like very, very high maintenance uni student, you could tell. So I sent her over JP's profile and I said, this guy trains like this. And she turned around and said, well, he's just on a load of gear. Of course he's going to look like that. I was like, fuck you now, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Shortly after, she said, I'm not willing to do this. I want a full refund. I only charged her for the first month. And I was like, well, it's a no refund policy. You know, you signed up, I've built you the plan. So that's that. If you don't want to do it, that's up to you. And we then transitioned from WhatsApp to emails. And that's when you know shit's getting real. So she threatened to out me on Instagram and sue me as well, even though like I sent over a declaration form to confirm there's no like refund process. And I was working with a mentor at the time, and I said to him, like, can she actually sue me here? He said, no, as long as she's, you know, seen the declaration and everything, you'll be fine. So I told her that, and then she, after that, threatened to out me on Instagram, and she did have quite a lot of followers. And I was like, you know what? It was causing me a lot of stress at the time. So I was like, this fucking bitch, I'm just going to refund her half and just be done with it rather than letting it drag out for longer than it needs to be. But yeah, that was a bit of a funny client experience.
That is brutal, mate. That is brutal. That sounds like early days of coaching then, yeah?
Yeah, very early days. Yeah, very. And that's why I always jump on consult calls with people before now, because I'm quite picky about who I work with. I won't just take on anyone and everyone. I want to work with the right type of clients. So you just learn from those experiences, don't you? And not try and just fucking get anyone through the door by any means.
The mental gymnastics that people do to like justify their pride beliefs is hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's so funny.
It always baffles me when you get like clients who are kind of like almost impatiently or in a rude way like questioning your knowledge, and it's like, do you know what I mean? It's very weird because it's like, well, then why are you? I can get if you're not paying me money, you can question my knowledge in like a maybe like what the fuck you on about, but if you're paying someone for advice and then turning around and going, what the fuck are you on about? It's like, why did you pay in the first place? What? It's so weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Luckily, I think we're all in a position now where we can kind of articulate ourselves a little bit better. But again, I think some people like just choose to be difficult to work with. I'm sure we've all had clients like that where it's like you talk to them and you're like, I don't think you're trying to work with me. I think you're trying to just cause friction. It's very weird.
And ultimately, you don't mind if that person leaves because they're just making the coaching process unenjoyable for you, you know? So you'd rather almost just not take their money and not work with them, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It feels like you're doing twice the work for them to get like half the results. And then you have someone that like literally does everything that you ask, and they're like, thank you so much, you've been fucking great. And you're like, I've literally done like half the work that I have to do for some people, and you're way more thankful. It's hilarious.
Yeah. It's not even like about, I think it's like the mental, I feel like it's less about the workload and more about like just the burden. It's like as soon as you see a message come from them and you're immediately like, oh no, like, you know, every day they're like having some kind of like wobble or question, or they're just being rude to you. Once it gets to that point, I feel that's when it's like, okay, this isn't as worth my time, because there are clients who take up more of our time by just asking questions and being curious, and that's fine. But when they start to be like a bit rude or impatient or yeah, just disrespectful. I think people being disrespectful is honestly like, why are you here?
You can tell, can't you? Like when a client is genuinely curious and asking questions in the right sense versus, questioning your ability as a coach and just calling you out on everything. And I think once they start doing that, it's only a matter of time before they just turn around and say, yeah, this is done for me, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's always a weird dynamic, and I think how like we always have to be careful of how we respond to that as well, because when people ask us questions, kind of being we're usually most people like we get excited and we're like, okay, let me talk you through why we're doing this and why we're doing that, and I try to kind of mimic that if someone's kind of almost being a bit disrespectful, questioning in a disrespectful way. But yeah, like you said, sometimes you just talk to people and you're just like, I just don't think you're going to stick to this that long, just from like, again, like you said, on a consultation call, sometimes you just have to say like, no to some people, because you can tell that they're just either not in a position where sometimes you talk to people and you're like, I don't think you're in a position to have a coach, because they're clearly just, not going to, that maybe they'll use you as like a source of like venting, or they'll kind of be disrespectful to you, or you just feel like you're going to have a negative experience with that person.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think we're going to wrap things up fairly soon, so I'm going to do some rapid fire questions. If I can talk enough that I can find that way, I found the questions. Okay, so what's the most common misunderstanding that people have about you? This can be either personally or professionally. If you had to pick one, though.
His name. How to say his
Where
name.
I'm
That's a good
from.
one.
I tell people I'm half Turkish. They're like, what? You don't look Turkish at all.
I don't know what they're expecting, though. If you could coach any historical figure, who would it be? Again, they can be outside of fitness. My classic go-to is always Gandhi, because that transformation would be insane.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
Fuck, you put me on the spot here. I'm going to go Barack Obama, because he's just a sound guy and he'd be a lovely man to coach, I reckon.
That's like, that he'd be grateful. He wouldn't be a disrespectful client.
Yeah, 100%.
This one might be a bit more difficult to answer, particularly if you're not that food focused, but we've got a nightmare meal plan. If you can't think of a full plan, just feel free to give one meal, but like the opposite of like a dream meal plan, like the worst food combinations possible for you personally that you'd hate. If Kieran sent it over, you'd go, you've literally, everything on here needs to change.
You know what? I'm really not fussy with food at all. I will eat absolutely anything. I mean, if you put a weird food combination in front of me, maybe something with vinegar in. I do not like vinegar.
Really? Not even on chips?
People that put vinegar on their fish and chips, you're just ruining it. It's got to be curry sauce. It's got to be curry sauce. The first time I had fish chips and curry sauce, that was a day my eyes were opened. That was lovely.
So we'll take your current meal plan and we'll just cover it in vinegar, and that's your
meal
plan.
That was nail on the head, mate. Can we talk about best meals though? Because I consider myself a bit of a cream of rice connoisseur.
Oh, go on then. Drop your best meals. Drop your best meals, mate.
Well, I'm going to shamelessly plug the YouTube here, because I recorded one yesterday, and I did a full tutorial on how I do cream of rice. But I saw this on one of Christian Chapman's clients' page, so I have stolen it from him. So I'll give him some credit. I think his name's Carlos. But he uses this method to volumize cream of rice, where he uses baking powder.
Yeah.
And mate, like the amount that you get out of it when you just add a bit of volume and more water goes a long way. And now I'm doing like this thing where you do that, you add more water, you volumize it, and then you like melt your dark chocolate on top. You then put it in the fridge so it goes to a hard layer. Then you get your frozen fruit on top, your whey paste, your like sugar-free caramel sauce, cinnamon on top.
Frozen fruit has to be in it. What are you talking about, mate? That's disgusting.
Frozen on top.
Mate, on top.
Fuck off.
All day. Frozen cherries are the goat when it comes to frozen fruit on cream of rice.
For me, it's always cream of rice. I'll always have dark chocolate and peanut butter. Always.
Yeah.
10 grams of both. Get like sprinkle the dark chocolate on top, like break it up, and then the drizzly peanut butter.
Have you tried the It's banana and maple peanut butter from M&S.
No.
That is top tier. If you've got an M&S near you, they all sell them. Banana and maple syrup peanut butter.
Is that like smooth peanut butter or crunchy? Or
Yeah,
what is it?
it's in like a normal jar. It's smooth. It's not crunchy.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure it's the same macros as standard peanut butter. And yeah, slaps that.
I need to do PB2. I know a lot of people like PB2.
I've got some of that. You can make it into like a paste, like a low calorie paste. That's quite cool.
Is it any good?
I've not really tried it like that, but I've seen John Jewett does that for his rice cakes. Like he just adds a bit of water to it and does like a similar thing to whey paste.
Yeah. I know.
What's the only thing that I would still eat from the fucking Greg Doucette days? Like everything else is shite, but PB2 is actually good. I rate it more than normal peanut butter. I think peanut butter is a bit shit.
Mad. Is it less sweet? Is that why you prefer it? Fair. Yeah. He says yes for the listeners at home. Luke's not really a big sweets man. Sorry, Jan, what did you say?
I said, what's your favorite cream of rice flavor?
Oh, mate, that's a brutal question. Probably, this is such an out there one, but it's so true. The JP Banoffee.
Oh, mate, me too.
That is tastes like banana, but
yeah,
peanut butter. It bangs.
Banging. Banoffee. I fucking love banoffee pie. Like that for me, and then the chocolate fudge as well. That's good.
Oh yeah.
I've recently tried the lemon meringue pie one, which is a fairly new flavor. That slaps with lemon cheesecake whey.
The one I'm itching to do is JP Sticky Toffee. I need to try that one.
Not good.
That sounds dodgy, mate. Come on. JP Sticky Toffee.
It's weird, man. It's weird. I've never rated sticky toffee cream of rices.
Lame. Right, I'm aware that we're starting to run out of time now. So Jan, where can people find you? Plug your socials, plug your business.
So my Instagram is Jan_Peks. YouTube is the same. If you are interested in coaching, I'm going to steal some clients off these boys now.
Hey.
Link in my bio to apply, or just DM me on Instagram if there's anything I can help with. Yeah, that's about it, really.
Fantastic, mate. Any parting words of wisdom for the viewers at home?
Not really. It's been a pleasure.
As opposed to the viewers where on the bus?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sure.
No, it's been a pleasure coming on, boys. To be honest, like I had a feeling I was going to come on this podcast at some point, so I'm glad you took my podcast. But yeah, like I have big respect for both of you, what you're doing. You both motivate me to be a better coach as well, because I see how much time and money you put into your own knowledge and business. So I love like following other coaches that do that, because it drives you to want to be better. So yeah, thank you for putting out this podcast and just doing what you do.
Mate, thank you. Honestly, huge love. I'm sure Luke would do the same and say the same if he wasn't currently in the middle of making his meals. Man's got his priorities on straight. Look at him.
Yeah, he's just fucking fully distracted, isn't he?
Mate, I'm a proper bodybuilder. Look at this shit.
20 minutes.
Jeez, that's a lot of beetroot.
No.
Holy crap.
Yeah, 100 grams, mate, for the pump. Let's go.
Fair. Right, Jan, thank you so much for coming on board. Anyone listening or viewing, please do give him drop him a follow, give him a subscribe on YouTube. Thank you, boys, for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your day, whenever you are or wherever you are.
Thank you, fellas. Chat to you soon, boys.
Thank you very much, bro. See you soon.
In a bit.